Hello, today is the 27th of June 2023, and we'll talk about Alessandro Anselmi, an interesting Italian architect born in 1934 and who died in 2013. Let's read a little bit about him. Very quickly I translated with Google Translate, and we know Google Translate is not so correct as we wish it was, from Italian to English. So if the English here is not great, that's the cause. I had no time to correct the translation, but let's hope it's okay, the translation. So Alessandro Anselmi was born in Rome in 1934, where he graduated in architecture in 1963. A little late if we consider that he graduated at 29. You know, usually people graduate with 5 years earlier, but he graduated in 29. Maybe he was rebellious. It's very possible. Good architects are rebellious. In 1962, he was one of the founders of GRAU. This was a famous architecture group at the time, Gruppo Romano Architetti Urbanisti. You understand, even if it's in Italian, it's not difficult to understand, which in those years began the battle to overcome the modern movement, supporting the need to recover the centrality or the central artistry in architectural design, or the centrality of artistry in architectural design. Anselmi's intense design activity bears witness to a path that goes from the forerunner of the relationship with history of the 1960s to the critical and contemporary recovery of today's experience. In addition to his professional activity, he has been involved in teaching and theoretical research. Graduated in architecture in Rome in 1963, he was professor of architectural composition at the Mediterranean University of Reggio Calabria, then at the Sapienza University of Rome, and finally at the Roma Tre University. He was a founding member of the GRAU studio, Gruppo Romano Architetti Urbanisti, as we already read. He was the author of numerous essays. From 1974 to 1981, he was editor of Controspazio and was a member of the Scientific Council of the Architecture magazine area. In 1999, he received the President of the Republic's Prize for Architecture, and in the same year, he received the title of National Academician of San Luca, and was several times a visiting professor in various French and Swiss architecture schools. His work has been documented in numerous exhibitions and in the most important specialist publications. He designed several notable works in Italy and France, making a significant contribution to the architectural debate starting from the 60s. In Rome, he oversaw projects for the arrangement of the basilica areas of San Giovanni Laterano and Santa Croce in Jerusalem, and multifunctional settlement at the San Pietro railway station in Rome. Numerous exhibitions and publications have been dedicated to him. Anyway, this was the man, and we are going to see some drawings by him, because his graphic activity related to architecture was indeed very important. Alessandro Anselmi, a member of GRAU, that architecture group that produced some very interesting works at the time. Drawing by Alessandro Anselmi. As you can see, the drawings have a lyricism, and they took some poetical license, you know, from imagination, nothing else. But these drawings were done manually, not using our seductive techniques today, Photoshop and all kinds of programs. that facilitate, visualization. But I think they are to be admired even more, no? Because they were done directly from the hand of the artist to the paper. And you see, indeed, if you just glimpse a little bit to the drawings, you have a feeling that this must be an Italian architect. It's in the air, so to speak. Um, I wonder, I mean, some people are skeptical that the digital technology truly brought a paradisiacal condition to architecture. One of the people who are very skeptical, if not downright critical, is Kenneth Frampton, the celebrated theoretician and historian of modern architecture, who vehemently criticized the arrival of the computer in architecture. I wouldn't be vehement. I think there are interesting experiments and interesting buildings built with the help of the digital technology, but maybe in the limitations of manuality, there were some chances to be creative that maybe are a little bit diluted in the digital age. I don't know. I mean, theoretically speaking, quite the opposite. The digital technology opens up immense, vast possibilities and resources. But then maybe that struggle with a pencil on a piece of paper, in that very struggle, there was something that maybe was lost. Anyway, the drawings of Alessandro Anselmi, pencil drawings on paper, projects, and he built a few things that are worth showing, and you'll see them a little bit later on. But I think the drawings do have a significance that maybe we should in some way make the efforts to recuperate or not to lose. Cimitero Comunale a Paramita, as I said, I translated from the Wikipedia, Italian Wikipedia, but I didn't translate everything. This is not difficult to translate. Sorry, the communal cemetery in Paramita in Italy, 1977. This is the, a composite drawing, plan and elevation, and I think it has force, and it has visual interest. It has symmetry, but it also has the volute. It has the spiral. It's a dynamic symmetry, if you want, and it was built. This is an axonometric view of this cemetery. And you would say, why does a cemetery have to look like this? Why isn't it too elaborated and too, graphic and ornamental and maybe even contrived in a certain way? But if you look at the images of the work, and there are some influences perhaps coming from Louis Kahn, but the work is original and it belongs to Alessandro Anselmi. I think the force of architecture, the appeal of architecture, the seductiveness of architecture are all present here. Even if, okay, the work seems to be unkept, maybe, allowed to be victim of some neglect, but it is architecture. It is architecture. It is an architecture that is heroical, and I think this aspect of architecture, it's heroic stance, or its heroic ambition, or its heroic longing. It's something that is not quite present, I think, these days. I mean, could we call that, vast urban project in Saudi Arabia, 170 kilometers long housing complex, heroic? I don't think so, because there's nothing heroic about having huge amounts of money obtained from exploiting the earth by, getting at petroleum, the oil, and then build arrogantly 170 kilometers of buildings, 500 meters tall. I think I, I think that activity in itself is not really heroic. It's rather an inflated gesture, some kind of a megalomania, which is afforded by the opulence of oil, and here we have something else. First, it's a cemetery. It's not an office building. It's not a corporate headquarters. It's a cemetery. But it's a cemetery where the spirit of architecture is very present. And it's actually an assertion of life. It's not an assertion of death. It was built for this function, a cemetery, but the building is a fortress of the spirit. This is what it is. And I think we need more fortresses of the spirit in the world, because they can be found very, very rarely in modern times. I mean, in late modernity and in the present. Yes, we can build anything. Yes, the petroleum or the oil or the gas can bring almost unacceptable amounts of riches and money on some people, on some countries, on some societies. But we are not heroical. I would say that even the tallest building in the world is not necessarily heroic, because true heroism, in my opinion, also involves a certain amount of modesty. I think heroism in the absence of modesty is not heroism. Doesn't matter how tall you go, or how long, or how wide, or how deep. Anyway, I think it's a subject worthy of another presentation and discussion: architecture and heroism, or architecture and modesty. How can we be? I mean, I wouldn't be correct or totally correct by saying that these buildings or these structures, what we look at now, are totally modest. No, maybe architecture in itself, in its very essence, is not the most modest activity on earth, because you build something on the surface of the earth, or from the surface of the earth, and in itself that gesture is rather provocative to the earth, to Mother Earth, if we are to say so. I read somewhere that the so-called primitive people, when they started construction of some sort, they had a very intense feeling of guilt, because they were feeling that they were raping Mother Earth. Can you imagine an architect today, for example, can you imagine Sir Norman Foster having the feeling that he is raping the earth with his many, many, many constructions? I doubt it. So we lost that mysterious relationship and the reverence towards the earth that the so-called primitives had. Now, I don't know if Alessandro Anselmi felt guilty when he started the construction of this cemetery. Probably not. But I am talking in more general terms. I think to be heroical, you also need to be modest. And in the conjunction, the oxymoronic, the paradoxical conjunction of modesty and being heroical, some beautiful things could come into being, I think. Maybe Friedrich Nietzsche was also referring indirectly to this issue, or directly, depends how you look at it, when he mentioned that the two preferred animals, so to speak, of Zarathustra, the eagle and the snake. The most proud, the eagle, the one that flies the highest, and the one with the most discernment, the snake, the eagle and the snake. Now, I don't know if the snake can be, compared to modesty and the eagle to heroism, or, but there is a duality there that perhaps should make us think. The building by Alessandro Anselmi, as you can see here, appears to be abandoned, attacked by the elements, but the spirit of architecture is still present, very much so, and I think we should attempt to build buildings that, even if affected by the elements or affected by the passage of time, affected by neglect, they keep the essential spirit that animated its coming into being alive. Now, this is another work, Complesso Parrocchiale San Pio da Pietrelcina in Roma. So in Rome, it is another work by Alessandro Anselmi, and if you travel to Rome, maybe you'll remember this work and search for it. I didn't remember it when I visited Roma, and now I regret. It's a work, again, connected, let's say, connected with religion, parochial complex. It's also, in a way, a gestural architecture, this part of the building, but you see clearly creativity here and, a formal exuberance. This one, I don't know, I'm a little bit confused. I think it's the other side of the building, because I see the campanile. Yes, it's the other side of the building. It's a little bit surprising, but maybe not, because here you have the Trinity, and you have the oneness. So it's the three in one. In a way, interesting. This elevation of the building, if the campanile was not there, the bell tower, you would have said it could have been a sports arena. Maybe this is a limit of the project, but it's still an interesting project. It was built, and it shows Alessandro Anselmi as being, capable of a novelty in architecture that should be appreciated. The plan itself is surprisingly not using curves. Well, they use in the arrangement of the chairs there, but otherwise you see the buildings are rectangular in plan, but they are not rectangular in their facades, nor in the use of the roof that would create some tension between itself and the plant. Interesting work in Rome, and I visited Rome a few times. I even worked in Rome, but at that time I didn't even know about Alessandro Anselmi. Anyway, this is the building, the section through the building. And yes, it is a little bit surprising, the section, the elevation, or the elevations and the sections and the plan. It's a womb. It's an architectural womb. That's what it is. Not the most modest religious building, but it is a building that I think deserves attention. And rather unexpected, because Rome, we think, doesn't have a lot of contemporary architecture. And even this was built, more than half a century ago or so. Alessandro Anselmi. He worked with a group, Grau, maybe even for this project, for this building. And this is a drawing for this project that he did. And yes, you can do anything with sophisticated technologies of the present, but the the direct contact between the pencil that was held by the hand of the architect and the nervousness, the emotion, the questing, maybe, well, I shouldn't say so. Maybe it is possible to bring this tactility to the visualization also through digital means. But I think we should also admire, the force, the lyricism, the genuineness of the work that the humble hand, human hand, did. And I wrote once a small poem. It only has 4 lines, called "The Hands Know," and it goes like this: the hands know what women know, what men and words try to know. But I was accused of sexism when I recited this short poem, if we have to call it so, to a group of students at Pratt Institute in New York. Personally, I don't see any sexism here. I only acknowledge the wisdom of women and the wisdom of the hand. Because when I said the hands know what women know, I meant that there is an intelligence in the hand, and there is an intelligence that women have that men and words only try to have, but often they don't have. Because the words sometimes could be exasperating in the attempt to arrive at the unknown, and men are, I think, often deprived of a more subtle form of knowledge, which has to do with instinct, with intuition, with emotion. Anyway, so this is the project of this parochial center built by Alessandro Anselmi in Roma, in Rome. This idea to build 3 in 1, or to symbolize 3 in 1, Trinity in 1, is I think it's done properly. But maybe this oneness, all-embracing oneness, is a little bit declamatory. Anyway, the comparison with, if the campanile, if the bell tower was not here with a possible, if you didn't see the other side, with a possible sports arena, maybe the very fact that it invites such a maybe not appropriate comparison could show some problems. I like the structure very much. It's I keep saying that a good building looks good at any stage of its progression or its process of coming into being, because the spirit of the building, the essence of the building, call it conceptual if you want, it's already there, even if the work is in progress, like it is here. And I'm sure the people around it were already intrigued and provoked and maybe even inspired. What is this strange architectonic animal? Well, it was the coming into being of this work by Alessandro Anselmi. A lot of steel there, it's true, maybe too much. Anyway, that was it. So let's wish him happy birthday on this day, although I'm not sure if he was born on this day or he died on this day. Let's have, if you don't mind, a short discussion now. How do I exit here? Just a second. I'm lost here. I don't understand what I did.